Okay, it being 6 o'clock, I'll call to order this February 26, 2024 Select Board meeting. Could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we have several public service announcements this evening.
So first up, the presidential primary election is on March 5th. You can vote on Election Day from 7 to 8 p.m. at your polling location. The deadline to request a ballot by mail is 5 p.m. tomorrow, February 27th. And you can vote in person at the town office's gymnasium on Tuesday, February 27th from 8:30 to 7, Wednesday the 28th, and Thursday the 29th from 8:30 to 4, and Friday, March 1st from 8:30 to 1. Next up, the Chelmsford Health Department is continuing to offer free Narcan training, where you can learn what opioids are and how to administer Narcan. The next training is February 27th from 6 to 6:30 p.m. at the Chelmsford Town Hall Fire Training Room. You can register by calling Taryn or Darcy at the Health Department at 978-250-5241 or email tangel@chelmsfordma.gov. And the Chelmsford Health Department is continuing its depression and anxiety support group for anyone who is struggling with depression and anxiety. Their next meeting is February 27th. It is facilitated by a licensed social worker and the Chelmsford Health Department Human Services Associate. The support group is available to individuals 18 years and older. Registration is preferred but not required. You can scan the QR code. You can also email mcameron@chelmsfordma.gov or call 978-250-5241 for more information. And these sessions are held every fourth Tuesday of the month from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the Chelmsford Center for the Arts in the Cabaret Room downstairs. Next, from the Chelmsford Health Department, they will be offering free blood pressure screenings. And those are on the first Thursday of the month with drop-in hours from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Board of Health office in Town Hall, and also on the last Thursday of the month with drop-in hours from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. at the Chelmsford Senior Center on Groton Road in North Chelmsford. If you have any questions, you can call the Board of Health office at 978-250-5241. And next up, the Chelmsford Health Department is offering free 6-week meditation series with Chris Connolly as the instructor. It is held at the Chelmsford Senior Center every Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. through March 20th. And there is a QR code where you can register, or you can call the health department at 250-5241? Sorry, I'm having
Yes.
my
Yes.
5241. Okay, next up tomorrow, February 28th at 7 p.m., the Planning Board will be holding a public hearing.
It's Wednesday.
I'm sorry, Wednesday, February 28th at 7 p.m. The Planning Board will be holding a public hearing for the MBTA zoning. This is to review their proposed MBTA zoning prior to the spring 2024 annual town meeting. The hearing will open on Wednesday, February 28th at 7 p.m. at the town offices in room 204, and it will be continued to March 13th, 2024. Participation can be in person or via Zoom. You can see the posted agenda for the Zoom link and this announcement, or the posted agenda for links to relevant documentation and other resources. If you have any questions, you can contact Evan Belansky, the Director of Community Development, at ebelansky@chelmsfordma.gov. And next up, if you've got a dog, it's time to license them. Late fees will start this week on March 1st. You'll need to go to the link in the announcement, have your dog's current rabies certificate available and your veterinarian's phone number, and then you can go online to email or complete your application. Licensing fees are $15 if your dog is spayed or neutered, and for an unaltered dog is $20. Next up, the Coolest Farm Task Force is looking for proposals and expressions of interest for the Coolest Farm parcels recently purchased by the town at and around 185 Pine Hill Road. Suitable uses include open space, agricultural, and other related activities benefiting the town and its residents. The task force will be holding a public session on Wednesday, March 6th at the town offices in room 204 at 7 p.m. to receive and discuss ideas and proposals. If possible, they're asking that you send written proposals and statements of interest in advance of the meeting. They can be emailed to coolestfarm@chelmsfordma.gov, and at the meeting you will have the opportunity to make a brief presentation of around 5 minutes. The details for what they're looking for in the expressions of interest and ideas are listed in this announcement, and you can email the task force if you have any additional questions. Next up, the Health Department is sponsoring a Buried in Treasures information session on March 12th from 4 to 5 p.m. at the Public Library. This is for people who may need help with decluttering, organizing your home, or reducing the amount of things that you are acquiring. You can learn about the Buried in Treasures series at the free workshop, and you would be given an opportunity there to continue to ask questions and register. If you have any questions, you can call the Health Department at 978-250-5241 or email Taryn at tangel@chelmsfordma.gov. Next up, switching gears a little bit, the Chelmsford Select Board and the School Committee will meet on March 25th, 2024 to appoint one representative to the Neshoba Valley Technical High School Committee for a 3-year term ending March 31st, 2027. Applications are available on the town website at www.chelmsfordma.gov, and they should be forwarded to the town manager's office by 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 19th, 2023. And on Saturday, March 23rd, at the Chelmsford Senior Center from 1 to 4 p.m., the Chelmsford Public Library and Chelmsford Business Development Office will be hosting a 2024 volunteer fair where you can meet with organizations looking for volunteers, talk to volunteers looking for opportunities, and simply share your skills and help create collaboration in the community. And there are a couple of QR codes on the flyer to get more information. And last up, I have a public service announcement that we don't have a handout for. The Chelmsford Conservation Commission is leading the development of a new version of the Chelmsford Open Space and Recreation Plan, and they are looking for members to serve on the working group. There will be 2 members from the Conservation Commission, 1 member from the Planning Board, 1 from the Select Board, and 2 residents with a general interest, and 2 with recreational specific interest, such as sports playgrounds, rail trail, etc. If you would like to apply for that, you can contact David Kuntz, who is the Chelmsford Conservation Agent, at dkuntz@chelmsfordma.gov, or call him at 978-250-5231, extension 2. You can also email Carl Bischoff, the Conservation Commission Chair, at kbish10@gmail.com. And the current recreation plan is available on the Chelmsford Conservation Commission homepage. This will be a process with a series of planning meetings that the North Middlesex Council of Governments will also participate in to help guide the process.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now it's public input time. Anybody that would like to address the board at this time can come up to the microphone. Do you have anybody?
Chair, it's hard to operate.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
My name is Franklin Rajowski. I live at 9 Jesse Road. I have some concerns. I was on Turnpike today with one of my neighbors, and the issue that I have, there's no sidewalk. Now, I understand that somebody a couple places down from us can get sidewalks put in by the apartment complex, but why can't we? We need it more than they do. Okay?
You good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brian Latina, Precinct 9 Town Meeting Rep. Just for the record, the first part of this meeting was 9 minutes. And I understand that I'm only allowed to speak for 3 minutes to the Select Board. Continuing from the February 12th meeting, when I was asked to stop speaking as a town meeting rep, I'd like to mention that the trash pickup, first day of the new trash company, crushed all the barrels in my neighborhood. I checked on them. They did stop crushing them. A lot of people bought the barrels from the company that we contracted with. More recently, they dumped probably a quart of hydraulic fluid in front of each driveway a few weeks ago, to the point where the town came out and put a barrier around the storm drain by my house. That stuff is still leaking out of my edge of my driveway. It's unfortunate. I think the truck was the same truck that came the first week that spilled a little bit as it went. Hopefully they've got new trucks. Calling our sustainability office, used to be the trash number. They refer you by voicemail to a third-party company and don't identify themselves. I'd like this board to consider a policy where if I'm paying as a taxpayer for the phones, cell phone or regular phone, the person should identify themselves, identify the time and date that they're in the office, on the day that they're in the office, like we did when I was working for a $3 billion corporation. And they should always identify themselves no matter what. Probably should call us back and not just refer to a third-party company. Other topic is there are 65 voters that in our last town election in April did not get to vote. They think they voted. They sent in their ballots. They didn't get to vote. I have a letter on the names and addresses. I'd like to have you put that in your documentation tonight so that the 65 people or other interested residents can actually look up their name and address, see that they did not vote last year. And again, the select board was determined by one vote last year. 65 people thought they voted from each precinct. Excise taxes, there were 17 cars in the parking lot at the projects over on Turnpike Road. on Sunday that have New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania plates on them. There was one Virginia as well. To be fair, I went over to the projects on 3 North in Billerica. There were 20 cars with New Hampshire plates. I know the chair spoke to our state committee people a couple of years ago and suggested that we increase our excise taxes because our cars are used longer. I would suggest that we go after the 20-some-odd thousand dollars that we're losing in our own town, on my street, just up the street from where Frankie got stuck, almost run over today. That project is at 150, I believe it's 150 Turnpike Road. There are also commercial vehicles in there, so we probably should tax them. And then finally, let's see, I think I covered all of them.
Okay, very good.
I'll give this to town manager.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is a list of 65 people that voted by mail, and their votes did not count last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board in open session, in public input? Anybody?
I'll be online.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to committee vacancies then.
Okay, so as of this evening, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee has one 3-year term open. The Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee has one unexpired 3-year term. The Conservation Commission has one unexpired 3-year term open. The Commission on Disabilities has 3 unexpired 3-year terms and one 3-year term available. The Community Action Program Committee has one unexpired 3-year term. The Council on Aging has one unexpired 3-year term and one 3-year term. The Cultural Council has one 3-year term available. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee has one 3-year term open. The Historic District Commission Associate Member has one unexpired 3-year term. The Holiday Decorating Committee has 2 unexpired 1-year terms. The Parade Committee welcomes all applicants for 1-year terms. The Public Records Advisory Committee has one unexpired 1-year term. The Roberts Field Advisory Committee has 2 unexpired 3-year terms open, and the Tree Committee has one unexpired 3-year term available. In addition, the town moderator is seeking candidates to fill 2 unexpired terms on the Finance Committee. One seat is until June 30th, 2024, and one is until June 30th, 2026. If you're interested in serving on a town board or committee, please complete an online application available on the town website. And for more information, you can contact the town manager's office at 978-250-5202 or tmoffice@chelmsfordma.gov.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a couple public hearings this evening. The first public hearing is for Comcast of Massachusetts to renew their cable license in Chelmsford. And just for the record, the notice of this hearing was published in the Lowell Sun for 2 successive weeks on February 12th and February 19th. And copies of the legal advertisements are included in our packets this evening if anybody wants to refer to those. State law does require that we hold a public hearing prior to any final action on a proposed renewal license, and that public hearing includes the opportunity for public comment on town needs, Comcast's cable performance, and the proposed renewal license. So based on any information that we get this evening and from prior testimony at a prior public hearing, the Select Board may take a final action on and approve or reject the renewal proposal this evening. So anybody here in our meeting room or on Zoom will be able to make comments during this public hearing. But before we begin that, I wonder if we could have some background information. Paul, I think you said we have the attorney here.
Yeah, a special cable counsel, Bill August, is on the Zoom call. He's turned his camera on, and when he unmutes and speaks, you'll see him pop up on the Zoom. We're also joined this evening by Pete Padula, the Executive Director of Chelmsford Telemedia. You may recall about a year ago now, the board held a public hearing on what was called an ascertainment hearing, which was basically informing the public that the cable television license was coming up for renewal on Comcast and offering the opportunity for the public to provide input. That input was recorded over the past several months. The council has been working and assisted by Peter and I to just sort of negotiate or discuss the terms of the license renewal with Comcast representatives. What one should realize in the community is that right now, Massachusetts is in about the 5th decade of cable television licensing. So the licenses are rather mature at this point. Obviously, the cable television industry over that period of decades and has consolidated. There are basically few major providers in the state right now. We're fortunate to be served by 2 of them, Verizon and Comcast, and the Comcast license is before us. And obviously what takes place in that type of an environment is you're sort of always looking at, well, what are other communities receiving in terms of services and provisions of their contract, because the providers tend to have a standard contract template. We are pleased to inform the board that we've, presented our data and case to Comcast. Comcast obviously wants to renew the license. They've stepped up and have provided funding under the license agreement. It's a 10-year agreement to provide for the capital investment that's part of the process of providing local access television for the public, educational, and governmental communities, and that's provided for in this contract. They did agree, and you see it in the packet materials, they did agree on a senior citizen discount for those who qualify, to meet, to be eligible for that, which again was a voluntary provision by Comcast, but again, what we've seen them do in some other communities. So it provides us again with a vehicle to go forward in a environment where we know many people are cutting the cord on cable because of the transformation in technology to internet and so forth, and the license is well served. It provides the town with a 5% surcharge to fund the local cable television operations in the community. Pete and our finance team monitors those quarterly reports that we receive from Comcast. In this case, in terms of their revenue stream, it's been holding relatively constant. Comcast sort of is the lead provider in the community. They basically have a 2-to-1 ratio versus the other license in the community. And one thing that will be provided under this license, if the town elects to do that, is we can convert one of our channels, local access channels. Again, we have 3, one for public, one for education, one for government. We have the right under this license to convert one of those to a high definition channel if we elect to do so. So again, there are some minor tweaks to the license, and that we'll be glad to answer. And I don't know if Peter, Bill, if you wish to, or Pete, if you wish to, if I have anything I've left out in terms of a summary, Pete, if you want to give your perspective in terms of what this means for Chelmsford Telemedia in terms of local access, that would be great.
Sure. You didn't really leave anything out. I mean, I think Paul's, Pete Padula, I'm the executive director of Chelmsford Telemedia, CTM. This has been decade over decade, really. These contracts are, it's not that different. So really, Paul highlighted the areas that the contract's much bigger than telemedia, and that part we don't have anything to say about. But mainly the percentage, we did go up from 4.5 to 5%. We are still, Paul said we are holding relatively steady. We are declining in our revenues a bit. It's slowed, which I'm very grateful for. So we're hoping that the 5%, that 0.5% increase helps us a little bit as we go forward into the future. The HD channel is a nice, ask. We're getting that. We wished for 3, but this is really just the lay of the marketplace now. So we're happy for the 1. That's really kind of it. We're happy with the capital grant money. Comcast really stepped up, and they're increasing that a little bit. So we're really grateful for that. And you'll see some of those improvements in this room, actually. I've promised, we've had our back and forth with the audio over the years. We are going to be putting in a ceiling array. So we do hope that the plan is that that's going to really help this room, and we will use this capital money for that. So overall, I think it's good news, and we're happy.
Yeah, I mean, before Pete leaves, and Bill's on the call, what people should realize, the public, is cable television is licensed and regulated by the federal and state government. We, as a local community, don't have authority in terms of pricing. In other words, we can't determine the pricing of what it costs for cable, nor can we regulate programming. So we don't decide what channels are offered or not offered. All that is outside of the purview of the local licensing authority. So again, the Massachusetts, history is it's still regulated at the local level in terms of local access, but that's pretty much the realm of what we have. I know a lot of people get frustrated in terms of, why are certain channels or programs or offerings done and why the prices, but we don't have that authority. And I know those were often the questions that we receive, in the office during the course of the years. So, Bill, is there anything that I neglected to mention in terms of the licensing renewal that you think we should be put on the record? You got to unmute, Bill. We can't. You got to unmute your microphone. There you go.
Thank you. Manager Cohen, I think you really covered the key points. The two main buckets of financial support are the annual percentage that was slightly increased to what is in fact the maximum permitted, the 5%. So we could not do better than that, and it's an improvement over where we were. And as both Paul and Pete explained, the other funding support, in addition to the annual percentage franchise fee, is capital funding for equipment and facilities. And we did have a nice increase in that too. So Comcast did step up to the plate. They recognized that Chelmsford has an active and professional local channels and local studio, and that they acknowledged is the kind of adds value to their operation. It provides a unique source of programming. So they were willing to push up the support for Chelmsford. In addition, providing the HD local channel, that's the first ever high definition local channel for Chelmsford. So there was improvement all around. And then the underlying license, I have the highest level of confidence in, because Comcast agreed to use the Chelmsford draft that Paul and I formulated with consultation and fact checking and verification from Pete. So it really was, I have a high confidence level. That's a draft document that's been vetted by over 15 cities and towns in the last 2 years, and has worked out well. There are some unknowns in the future as the cord cutting continues. We lose subscribers and then the revenues go down, and we don't know the trajectory of that. Right now it's slowed down, the cord cutting, but it could increase, and that is an unavoidable uncertainty in the process. I think other than that, I would just like to give a heartfelt thank you to both Town Manager Paul Cohn and the Telemedia Executive Director Pete Padula, and also his staff, and also Paul's staff, Christina Bruce and others, because putting together an 80-page contract, there were a lot of twists and turns. This word and that clause and this exhibit and this side letter. And I could not hope for a more responsive and professional and informed support than I got from Chelmsford. And I have to thank the whole town, because you guys make it possible to have such good people. And I also want to thank Comcast. They were, they can't say agree to everything a town asks for, but they would always take it back and give it a fair shake. So they were a good negotiations partner. That's all really I had.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for me? Or
I was going to ask if any board members have any questions for any of the three team members we have here from the contract.
Paul, can you scroll to It's page 25, section 6.5. It basically shows the 10 years of capital funding for PEG access facilities and equipment
Yep.
at 47.5 a year.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure, so this is an increase over what we used to get?
Yeah, it was
And-
42.
It was
42.
what?
It was
42.
And why do they not apply any like escalation factor over the 10 years? Why does it just stay flat?
Bill could probably speak to their custom of how they handle these in licenses.
Right. Well, their escalation is relative to the prior license. Capital was 336,000 total in the prior. And in this license, it's 475,000. So that's, over a 33% escalation. They come up with the aggregate number first.
Okay,
Not the annual number. So they came up with the 475,000 number as meeting the needs that we had itemized over the 10-year basis. So they're really looking at it on an aggregate 10-year basis. Then once having come up, and Pete Padula and his team generated an itemized capital budget for a number like very close to that. So they figure out the total number for the 10 years, and then they annualize it. They pay it out in 10 equal payments.
okay.
And that's to the benefit of the consumer to pay it, to spread it out, because if they pay it in lump sums up front, they hit on a cost of money interest factor for having foregone access to a larger sum of capital. And then, there's more of a surcharge. So that's sort of was the concept behind it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have questions?
Great question. Good question.
George? I have a couple of questions. Just some things I noticed in the contract on page 8. Under definition.
page?
Page
What
8. Page 8.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
effective date, it says the effective date is October 23rd, 2022. Is that right?
No.
Do you see where that is?
Yeah, line 18 on page
Yeah.
8, paragraph 18.
Right. There is another section that spells out the effective date in section 2.2 on page 12.
Yep.
Stating that the term shall commence on April 1st, 2024. So also on the top of each page in the header it also shows the term and the effective date. So that was an oversight. That must have been a carryover that was not picked up. And I'm very surprised by that. Oh my God. And we will make that, good catch, that we will make that clerical correction
Okay.
in the final document.
And the other question I have is on page 54, Exhibit 3, where it lists all the municipal places that have Comcast installed. And
Yes.
it looks like it hasn't been updated recently. I guess it's one thing I would say. It shows a fire department on 7C North Road, and that building hasn't been there for, what, 6 or 7 years now, right, Paul?
All right. Let me also address one. Let me just turn to that exhibit first, because
Okay, because I have a couple other questions on it.
yeah, hold on. Let me get out a piece of paper here. But we do in section 5.6 have the specific authority to add to the list, which is what is important.
Well, I do have some I wanted to suggest that we add, but Yep.
Okay, all right. So wait, the one for removal is, which one?
It's the fifth one down, Fire Department, Chelmsford, 7C North Road. There's no fire
Okay.
building there anymore. And
Fire Department, 7C.
And then if you go two further down, it says Library McKay. The address is for we have two libraries in town. We have the McKay Library and Adams Library. The address you show is for Adams Library, but it says McKay, but I wonder if we could have it at both.
All right, so it says Library McKay.
Mhm.
And is that the wrong address there?
Correct, that's correct. It's the wrong address, yes. That address is for our other library, Adams Library, which is the
Okay.
main library.
All right, add Adams Library.
I don't know off the top of my head the address at McKay, but I'm sure it's,
Newfield, yeah, it's Newfield Street.
Okay.
Yeah, we will add it.
and then a little bit about halfway down, you indicate the North Chelmsford Water District, which is fine, but I don't see the other two water districts listed, which surprised me. Any reason for
Are
that?
those offices or
Yes.
capital facilities? What are they?
There's the Center Water District and the East Water District, or additional ones. And again, I don't have the street addresses for either one, but we do have three water districts.
Are those other district addresses, buildings with personnel there most of the time?
Yes.
Okay.
I also noticed that you don't have the school admin building. I don't know if they have Comcast or if they want it, but I would think that would be one that would be on there.
Yeah, I'm just going to read the language in 5.6, by the way,
Okay.
because on page 21, it says licensee shall provide a cable drop outlet and basic service along its cable routes. Has to be, somewhere along the system. To public schools, police and fire stations, public libraries, and other buildings designated in writing by the issuing authority. So if we designate a building under the Comcast will add it on if it's along the routes. That's their approach.
Okay. Now, I know,
And I think part of it might be, I think we can check this, but I think some of them may have Verizon drop and not in other words, we don't have both. In other words,
Okay.
some buildings, like this building, there's a Comcast drop, but there may not be a Verizon drop. And what we can do is check to see if they're served and if they are served by Comcast. Not that it precludes them, but I think that may explain, well, why are some not on the list and others are? I think the basis for that may be which service are they taking? Not that there's, anyway, because I think there's
Okay.
only one is utilized per site. So,
Okay.
but that may be an explanation as to why some don't appear on the list, but we can verify that.
okay, I mean, and the only other two that I would note that, maybe we could connect would be the CCA and the North Chelmsford Town Hall. I know.
Oh, wait, I just want to note, the Adams Library is on the Verizon list.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that may be why.
I'm looking at Exhibit B of the current Verizon license. It has Adams Library, 25 Boston Road, and they have to do McKay Library 2 at 43 Newfield.
All right, we'll look into that.
Okay.
So
and-
they do both. School administration also is covered in Verizon at 230 North Road.
Okay. All right. and-
Paul, that was a good thought to check that.
Well,
All
because we'll be back before you within a year for the Verizon license renewal, and that's not accidental, that when the
Right.
Verizon, which was the second licensee, came in for initial license, we sort of scheduled that duration to lag a year behind Comcast, which is the lead provider in the community. So we've already, as Peter noted, and why he has that contract in front of him so quickly is we've already had informal discussions with Verizon, and, we expect it to be before you within a year for the Verizon renewal.
Right.
Okay.
So we do get another bite at the apple on this list with Verizon too. Yeah.
Okay, and the CCA and North Chelmsford Town Hall,
We'll check
can we
that.
check on those?
Yep.
Okay, all right. That is all I have. So this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in this room that would like to make any comments, questions about the Comcast license renewal? Okay, apparently not. We have
Nobody
anybody?
on the Zoom either.
I got
Okay.
one more before I go. I just want to say thanks to all, but also, we don't just do the meetings, as you know, we create programming, and just by coincidence, one of our volunteers, John Egan, is here, and are you Kristen? We've never met. We're trying to arrange for Kristen to come on to our monthly show, Chelmsford Tonight, to talk about some of the improvements to Junie's place, and also the other, and Steve is here, Steve Callahan, and hopefully he'll come on the show to talk about the improvements to Friendship Park in general, and Kristen hopefully will come on and say a few words, if you feel comfortable, just about the Junie's Place thing. So, we do enjoy serving the community in multiple ways, and thanks for all your support, and I'll let you.
Well, thank you for everything you do for Chelmsford Telemedia and
Sure.
for broadcasting all these meetings that I know are interminable sometimes.
And I will take that as my cue. I'll let you get back to your meeting.
Thank you.
It's a big job
Yes.
covering all those meetings.
Close the
Okay.
public hearing.
You want me to make a motion?
Yep, unless
I'll
anybody...
make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the Comcast of Southern New England, Inc. cable television license renewal for the renewal term April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2034, as presented with Section 1.1, Paragraph 18, effective date corrected, and with Exhibit 3 to be reviewed for accuracy.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And thank you, Mr. August, for
Thank you,
being
Bill.
here.
Thank you all. Take care.
Okay, we have our second public hearing, which is for the carry-in alcohol license for Sri Thrumal Chakra Foods. I know I didn't say that right, but... All right, so you're applying for, to allow your customers to bring beer and wine into the restaurant. Do you want to tell us any more about it?
I just opened the restaurant 1.5 months back. It was January 6th. I see a lot of local crowd asking for, the beer and wine. So it's going to, if I apply for the license, it's going to take 3 or 4 months. So initially I applied this BIOB because of the crowd request.
Okay, so you are going to apply for, have you decided for sure that you're going to apply for a regular license, or is this kind of a test to see how much demand?
This is based on the request from the customers.
Okay,
And after, checking the volume of the customers who's bringing in alcohol, I may apply for the
okay,
regular license.
all right. Does anybody have any questions about this license? We do have a policy on that, which was included in our packets this evening.
Where is that? Where is the policy? Because I'm not super familiar with these, actually.
It's at the end.
So I just, for clarification, I think it was the police chief commented that you need to have a tip certified person. And so there's only one area of your restaurant where you're going to be allowing the carry-in
Exactly.
beverages?
It's a party hall.
It's what?
It's a kind of a party hall where 20 seat is only allowed for, alcohol.
Yeah, there's a little section of the seating area that's sort of cordoned off, which is
Yeah.
what he's saying, it's about 20 seats. And he's saying that's the area that he's going to allow alcohol to be served.
That's correct.
when we were up there for the ribbon cutting, I think, Pat, you may recall that area that was
Right.
sort of off to the side, so that's how they're gonna monitor it.
Okay, thank
So-
you.
So there isn't is there a tip certification required? for
Oh,
these?
yes.
Yes,
Right.
Absolutely.
I submitted that. 2 people have got that.
You have 2 people
if
tip
you-
certified, is
Yeah.
that what you said?
Yeah, if you see that area, if I
Yeah,
can
that's
blow
what
it
I
up a
was
little
asking
bit.
about, so it's
Yeah.
just for that area.
Just for that area there,
Yeah.
where the seating is by the kitchen. Yeah.
Is that normal for it just to be one area, for not to apply to an entire establishment?
Whatever they can set it up.
That's what they've
because-
chosen, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons is because if you read the
The
policy,
service.
they can only, they can't have more than 20 people in the area where they're serving, where
Okay.
it's being brought in.
Okay.
And that makes perfect sense where they are now. If they had it on the other side, it would be too large an area. So any other questions from the board?
No.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board or the applicant about this application? Okay, apparently not.
Nobody on Zoom, no.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor?
I will make a motion to approve the carry-in alcohol license for Shri Thirumal Chakra Foods LLC, doing business as Masala Cafe Chetnad at 313 Littleton Road, Unit 12, as presented.
Second?
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Good luck.
good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a license, change of ownership, Andiamo.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, I'm Angelique Eliopoulos with law offices at Eliopoulos and Eliopoulos 9 North Road here in Chelmsford. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, Andiamo Pasta LLC, doing business as Andiamo Restaurant and Bar at 18 Boston Road, to present to you its application for change of ownership in an interest in an LLC, which is really just a formality, as I'll kind of get to. But I'm joined tonight by the owner of the restaurant and the current manager of the license, James Rogers, who's in the back if you have any questions for him. So right now, the license is held by Andiamo Pasta LLC. The membership interest is currently of that LLC is shared between Mr. Rogers and with CTC Restaurant Investors. They've always been a silent investor in the sort of mother LLC, if you will, and have no ongoing facilitating the business. So now CTC is assigning their interest back to Andiamo Pasta. That makes sense. So silent partner is going away. Now everything's going to be owned by Andiamo Pasta, and the ownership will now be James and his wife, Patricia Collins, who's an active participant in the restaurant. If you've been there, you've certainly met her. She's lovely. But so nothing, all that to say that explanation is nothing will change from the day to day. The formality is that the ABCC requires town approval and state approval anytime there's any interest change in the LLC, but nothing in the day to day or the practicalities of how the restaurant or the application of the license is being run will change.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions about this change of manager, change of ownership? Okay, apparently not. We have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the change of ownership interest amendment on the all alcoholic beverages restaurant license for Andiamo Pasta LLC, doing business as Andiamo Restaurant and Bar at 18 Boston Road, Suite 100, as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Kristen Dillon for the request for the light on the town common.
Good Hello, everyone. You may remember me. I was here months ago talking about Junie's Place, but I'm also back to not only talk about Junie's Place tonight, but also to talk about a request that I have to light up the town monument for Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood Awareness Month. So as many of you know, I lost my daughter, Juniper Dillon, December 2022. And even after a thorough investigation, it was determined that her death was unexplained. And so March is Sudden Unexplained Death in Childhood Awareness Month, and we know that 450 children a year die as a result of SUDC in just the United States, and that is a category of death for children between the age of 1 and 18. Unfortunately, it's also the fifth leading cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 4 as well. And so this is something that's very little known. We hear a lot about SIDS, but we hear little about SUDC. And so to raise awareness and honor Junie and other families that are affected by SUDC, I'm requesting that we light the monument blue and yellow for the month of March in order to raise awareness and, again, honor these children and these families.
Okay, after you had this happen last year, the board met, when we were setting our goals for this year, we made it one of our goals to have a policy for lighting of buildings and monuments in the town. Unfortunately, we do not have that policy in place yet, so we can't say one way or the other based on the policy, obviously. I will ask the other board members how you feel about this. I mean, we don't have a policy. We could make assumptions on what the policy would say. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I don't know how everybody else feels about whether to allow this again this year. Any thoughts?
I appreciate the cause. I think that we had another request after March of last year that we denied because we didn't have the policy in place yet. And my only concern is that my understanding from council is this is like the flags. If we approve without a policy in place, then by definition, we're approving every request that comes through, or that we could be on the hook to do that. And so I'm just trying to figure out how to balance that right now, absent having vetted the policy.
Which month is it?
It would be March.
March, next month.
And I guess my other question, I'm sorry, George, I didn't mean to cut you off, but my other question with that was, I think we have council coming back on March, at our next March meeting for the 40B hearing. So I don't know if that he would be available to answer questions then, or if we could look at a draft then or something, but go ahead, George.
That's what, mid-March, right?
The 11th would be, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough one, but I mean, it's hard to say. We look into the future and see, what's going to come in front of us, and what the arguments are going to be, whatever. I mean, it's hard to say. Somebody who
Can you talk in the microphone? I can't hear.
Sorry. Has a good cause, So I mean, I'm open. Normally, I wouldn't be. You know what I mean? And I was against the flag policy and whatever. I mean, I was stringent on that. So, to make an exception now would probably be, like against my way of thinking. And if we do accept this, we're not gonna be able to turn anybody else down, I don't think, really.
Well, if we have a policy in place, we would. I mean,
Right, so
we
how
don't
fast
have-
can we get a policy
Yeah,
in
I
place?
think
That
that's
would be
gonna
my
take a
next
while.
question.
I mean, it would be.
I don't know if it would take a while.
Well, I mean,
We've
I think
been
we could-
short-staffed here with 4 people.
We
so-
could get a draft by our next meeting, and then we could have one by the end of March, but that would be the end of March, not for the month of March.
Yeah, that doesn't address this.
Correct, it doesn't. So, Aaron, you have
I
anything?
do think that's a big
But
conversation.
it could get done in such a time frame. If we were to commit to getting it done by the end of March, we would have it done in a time frame that we'd be we'd know what our position is going forward.
Correct. I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, is our position going to be to never?
I don't know,
we don't
Aaron. We've
know.
never discussed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And the issue that we had with the flags is that when you, without a policy in place, when you approve one cause, you don't have much legal ground to turn down any other cause. And so you can't apply a judgment factor, basically.
And if it's not on the agenda, we can't make a policy.
Correct, we can't do it today. That's correct.
So my question would then be, how can we commit to get something in place by the end of March so we know? Because I think there was a precedent set with this with Paul last year, and like I said, we've just been short on people and we don't have it in place yet, so. Aaron, what do you think?
Well, this one is, this is tough for me. I have a personal relationship with the Dillons also, which makes it particularly difficult for me. I think I agree. We need a policy. I think it might be tough for us to come up with one. And in the meantime, I don't know. I guess we can still use our discretion. I mean, I don't think that this is a controversial issue in my mind, to be honest, aside from my personal wishes in regard to this. I don't think that this is a controversial issue. I don't think that this is something that anybody would be opposed to.
You never know, but,
I mean,
but yeah, I agree with you.
As far as
And you never know how
causes
many
go,
other causes come forward in March even.
As a point of order, Madam Chair, town bylaw that town meeting passed does not allow colored lights on buildings outside. It's a bylaw that we passed
Okay.
ours.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a little bit different, but,
It is not.
That's for buildings.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and there's the other argument, so, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I kind of would look to you guys for where you use your discretion, I guess, and being here for a long time, and where you draw the line with the bylaw and the lack of a policy, and,
It's a tough one, I mean, it's just, but, if you make one exception, then,
Yeah, it's a wonderful cause, and I wish that everybody would see it as a wonderful cause, and it would be something that we could do as a board.
I don't deny that it's a
yeah.
great cause.
Yeah.
It's just the
It
kind of
brings
the
us-
legal pickle you wind up in.
Yeah.
And that's why I was wondering if we could discuss it, maybe have a draft at our next meeting, discuss it with council, and it wouldn't be for the whole month, but maybe we could light it for part of the month or something, depending on what that discussion is. I don't know, I'm just,
I'm in agreement with that, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a reasonable compromise.
and it's
given
nothing,
that we
it's
don't-
nothing against your cause or anything, we just don't want to put ourselves in the town in a legal position that isn't going to be beneficial for the whole town.
No, I understand. Thank you. And I just appreciate
So-
your consideration.
I mean, I would be okay with talking about it with council on March 11th and maybe having a draft in front of us.
I mean, I think we should at least have a draft, yeah. I mean, it
And-
should be our policy and not council's.
Right, and then maybe we can just we can put it to make a collaborative decision on this particular item, do our inputs to the draft policy for the next, right, we would be able to make a decision on this particular request at that meeting, I would think,
Yes.
without, even though we have to carry the policy over for 2 meetings. Does that make sense?
Well, this is a
Yeah.
great example of something that would help us draft
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah,
So,
I
we
agree
can
with
kind of
that,
address them
too,
both
yeah.
at once.
Let's
Right.
just force the issue and let's get it done.
There you go.
Thank you.
So with that, is that acceptable to you?
Absolutely. Just
we
like
do
I said, I'm just appreciative of your consideration, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing this up again, so we do, get it done, because we need to get it done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So,
Yeah.
and I know that you're up next with another presentation.
I'll just stay
for us.
right here, yeah.
There you go, that works. Okay.
Okay, so
Oh.
I'm
There we go.
I'm Kristen Dillon, and I'm here to present a little bit about Junie's Place at Friendship Park. I'm at 8 Lantern Lane. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier. So it's our beautiful logo of Junie and a couple of her friends on the playground. So we just wanted to give you an update on how things are going. So.
Oh, God.
So as you all know, Junie's Place at Friendship Park is an expansion for 2 to 5-year-olds that is all inclusive for friends of all abilities. Our original fundraising goal was $150,000, and we were able to surpass that in just under 10 months, which is absolutely incredible. The balance was paid to the town of Chelmsford, and Steve did confirm for me today that the equipment has been ordered. So at this point, we're going to have a community-led project to create mosaic granite benches that are in honor of Junie, and so that will be done at a local business called Tiny Tiles, where she will invite patrons in to create the mosaic that will then be installed at Junie's Place. And then they will prepare the work site in 2024, and this hopefully by late spring, as well as has contractors install the equipment and the surface. And we're hoping for an opening of Memorial Day in 2024, which is just incredible. So as you can see, this is where the area will be. So if you enter the playground through the main entrance, it will be right on the right. And this is some of the equipment that we picked out. And this was something this is my daughter Annalie, and Annalie and I and her dad did in honor of Junie in terms of things that we knew Junie would love. And that, of course, Annalie might like too. And so we're not only including that, but also, as I mentioned, the benches, and then we'll have some more picnic tables because that was a request of community members that they wanted more seating, as well as, Junie's name was Juniper, so in honor of her, we will be planting some juniper trees as well. So, and all of the surface will be poured in place, and so it is accessible for all children of all abilities. So as you can see, this is an itemized list of all of the equipment, and as well as the benches and some of the additional projects that we had as well. So we were wildly successful in our fundraising efforts, which is just incredible. So we did do the Junie's Joy campaign, which I was here last speaking about, and Ice Cream Social. So we invited local businesses to donate proceeds or profits during a week of June in honor of Junie. We did have the masquerade ball at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts, which was also wildly successful and a lot of fun. And that will be something that we'll be doing yearly as well, some sort of gala or ball. The Chelmsford Police Athletics League was kind enough during their movie night to speak about Junie's Place and encourage donations, even though it's a free event. We were the recipient of this month's Milltown Plumbing Helping Hands fundraiser. The Chelmsford Girls Softball League, they have a carnival yearly, and they donated all of their proceeds to Junie's Place as well. And then there were other community-led events. One of Junie's dear friends had a lemonade stand, and at 2.5 years old raised $1,500. And so I think we're all in the wrong business, clearly. And so people have really gone above and beyond in order to make Junie's Place a reality. And so here are a few of the pictures from some of those fundraising events. And so we just want to say thank you to the Select Board and thank you to the community, for the Department of Public Works and all of the residents of Chelmsford and beyond for really helping us make this a reality. When we first set the goal of $150,000, we did not think that we were going to be able to do it, and to be able to do it in less than 10 months is just incredible, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without this incredible town. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
You've done a great job, and this is going to be such a nice addition to Robertsfield.
We're really excited.
You did a nice job picking things out in honor of your sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, and next up is Christine Clancy to give us our monthly ARPA.
Good evening. Tonight is the ARPA update for the month of February. Just give and have the updated spreadsheet just to give an overview. So still we're at 56 projects that have been allocated through ARPA funding. Total of $9.66 million of the $10.3 million. Of that, it leaves about $920,000 left in unallocated funds that. In terms of the timeline, that's something that has to be allocated by this December and spent by December of 2026. We also track how we're procuring. So as of this month, we've procured 88% of the appropriated projects, and 64% of those funds have been invoiced or spent. And I guess before I can get into the spreadsheet in more detail, but just to give over some highlights since last month's update that are, I would say, more notable highlights. One larger change was project number 3. This is the modular RTU replacement project at CHS McCarthy and Parker. So both of those projects have been procured, have a contractor on board. We're in the submittal time frame procurement of the units to be installed. They were potentially going to be installed this April vacation. When the contractor went out there, we have a differing, and there's a typo in this, it's not anticipated differing site condition, it's an unanticipated differing site condition, where the contractor realized that the electrical capacity for the RT units was not needed to be increased. That electrical scope wasn't included in the original scope of the project. So we have updated the total project forecast for that project number 3. So project number 3 right now is projected to be about $680,000. We still need to receive that change order, but we've put in some additional contingencies for this substantial differing site condition. That is a large change, and so that does tally into our net, what this is included. So in terms of the total that we have still unallocated, we're still carrying the $920,000. Then projects 47 to 49, those are the 3 watershed assessments, and that is a recommendation for tonight. So we've gone through that process of putting together an RFP, soliciting some proposals. Those proposals, we received 4 proposals. And we have a recommendation tonight for those 3 watershed assessments as one project. Just to go over, I can go over the spreadsheet, but I also want to talk a little bit about one other request too. I don't know if we want to jump to the spreadsheet first. This spreadsheet, it's tracking, the blue is all procured, completed projects. There's still a lot of the projects in green. So there's going to be some projects that are advancing for installation in April vacation. A lot of it is also a summer time frame. And then there's still some of the, I call them the tab projects, the testing and balancing projects on the next 14, 17, 18, 19, 20. Those haven't been procured. We are still down a facilities project manager, so we're just trying to fill that position. That's a project that we have slated for that position, but it's also something that we'll be procuring. I just have it estimated for a spring procurement, so that has been sliding a little bit as well. And then the number 32 is the Kensington Road Pump Station project. That is moving along. We know that is a much larger project, total estimated $900,000, so the overage in there will be paid for through the sewer enterprise fund, but we are moving forward. We just procured the building for that unit too, so that's also been some more minor updates in this project. And then numbers 50 to 55, these are the more recent drainage projects that we've added, aside from the watershed, that still need to be procured. And right now we're in the permitting phase, in plan development phase. So we'll see a lot of those be procured in the next month or 2 as well. So I think where we are right now is we're keeping track of everything, advancing The projects, nothing seems to be other than I guess that project number 3 where we have that somewhat substantial differing site condition. I think when we're tracking everything as expected, we should see a lot of these projects be moving forward in terms of completion, installation, procurement, and then that leaves the $920,000 that we just have to allocate this by the end of this calendar year. And we also will look, like I know 1B is mechanical support for HVAC systems, where we only have $36,000 invoiced, and that's a large amount. So I also am starting to track some of the burn rates on a monthly rate to see if we have to make some adjusted forecasts to make sure that we're not, we want to make sure that we allocate that money, by the end of this year.
So one of the reasons we were holding off allocating more funds was for the reason that you just had
Exactly.
The unknown pop up. So for the yellows and the reds that are remaining, are you thinking by mid-year or something we would know kind of where those are actually coming in?
So I would say for the yellows and the reds, we're looking really to push forward the next 2 months.
Okay.
We're really trying, and I do think a lot of the projects that remain, I think we have a better understanding of the initial scope.
Yeah.
The initial scope for the CHS Parker, that was replace RTU units. We didn't scope. We assumed that by replacing those units, the existing electrical was, could be reused because it was being used for those RT units. We really need to have an increased capacity for the new units. So I think we feel more comfortable with, as we develop these projects, the scope I think is a little more refined than maybe some of the previous projects. So I think we will have updates in the next couple months. I mean, I honestly had hoped we'd get it this winter. Unfortunately, we just don't have that facilities project manager to help move along some of the projects. Our facilities manager is moving forward on these. I'm helping, and then we have some other staff as well. And I do think the projects shown in the red here, the drainage, that scope is pretty, I feel very confident with those cost estimates. And actually, if you look at the watershed assessment, we came in essentially right around budget. So the recommendation tonight is to award that one project for $270,000, and that did come in right around our budget. I guess there are a couple time-sensitive, so there are some time-sensitive projects that, in one project I would like to potentially add to this list, if possible, was the smoke testing, or I call it the pilot smoke testing. So we are under a sewer capacity constraint. We've been moving forward with the manhole lining project. So right now we're designing 200 manholes to be lined. That will be going out this spring. This is all paid under sewer enterprise, and then those funds we would probably by town meeting would be able to move forward with that project. That is what we've been using. That will take the infiltration out of the system that we've identified as part of a project with Weston and Sampson the past couple of years. Through that project, we've used that capacity that we're taking out of the system to be able to, through our sewer capacity policy, basically sell that as part of our commercial businesses development growth. That total amount is really it's near being used up. There's been a lot of requests in recent months, especially. We also have the pilot inflow removal program, or sump pump removal program. We did get 200 calls, and now we're just going through those calls because not everyone is really eligible. Some people already have sump pumps that go out to the yard. Some people didn't have sump pumps, so we're going through that list. But we're moving forward with inspections this March, so that's another program that we hope we find some capacity in the system. We know it's there because when we have rain, we have a significant increase in our flows. We know we have to find it. So the next piece of the puzzle is this smoke testing, and that is something that is really required by DEP. They're requiring us. We had potentially programmed it for next summer, but I do think if we move it up, that's another way that we could gain additional capacity. I call it a pilot because I do know some communities have not had success with it. Some communities have had great success, and so it depends on how things are connected, and depends where you find it. So we're estimating that program at this piloted area. It's in the Littleton Road, Katrina pump station area. It's about $95,000. We could move forward and I could look at it for fall town meeting, but the thing is you can't do this in cold weather. The best time to do it this summer. So that would be one critical request, if possible.
So the 95,000 is for the 200 manhole
No, the
linings?
$95,000 would be for the smoke test pilot project. The
I see,
200 manholes that we're lining, we had $40,000 through our sewer enterprise. That is estimated as $700,000.
We voted on that already, right?
We voted on that already. And then the construction, we're going to do the design now, because that's activity that can actually occur later into the fall. So we'll probably be procuring that construction-wise later this fall. The timeline, unfortunately, for the smoke testing, the ideal timeline is in the warmer weather. You don't want to be below, ideally 50 degrees, but especially 40 degrees. So if we could do that this summer, otherwise we would push it to next summer, which was originally planned. But I guess we want to be more aggressive with trying to find inflow because of the requests coming in.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable request. I mean, you could do it this week even.
We could. There's we have to go
I know,
solicit.
yeah,
But if we could get the go ahead, we would probably get an RFP out in the next month or so to then basically design that project and have that completed this summer.
Any other comments? I mean, like I said, I think that's a good use of some of the funds we have left.
Okay with it? Make a motion? I will make a motion to allocate $95,000 of ARPA funds for the DPW pilot smoke testing project within the Katrina Station and Littleton Road areas.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. That'd be a great project to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is draft policy that I drew up for, we're talking about another one of our goals to have a process for the town manager and town accountant performance reviews. So I drafted a policy for us to look at for that. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the form that we use to rate the town manager. So everybody have a chance to look at the policy itself and any comments? Concerns?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead.
Do these want to go first?
George, you have any?
No.
Okay.
Some of the, unfortunately, some of the stuff was left out of my packets, I think.
Oh, okay. Erin, do you have any?
No, that's okay. Virginia, you can go ahead.
I just had a couple of comments under the timeline section.
Uh-huh.
So the first sentence, before the end of May, the chair distributes review forms. And then I think somewhere after that and before the next one, the town manager and the town accountant fill out their self-appraisals.
Okay.
Because I think that really helps inform the process and the discussions. And then the only other comment that I had was in the second paragraph. The second sentence starts with, after completing the review form, board members may at their option and discretion meet with the town manager and town accountant. I was just wondering if we wanted to just say as part of before the formal review, they would meet with them, because sometimes, like when I meet with the town manager and the town accountant, it's also to help inform me as I'm filling this out. I don't just try to
Okay, I see.
do all the
Sure.
evaluation factors before I have an interactive discussion.
Okay, so it's
So
not necessarily after completing. the-
Correct, right. I think it's just as part of that process. And I would almost, I know in one of the forms it used to say that you shall meet, but I would almost say that board members should
Yeah, I
meet
mean,
with the
I don't
town
think it-
manager. And I don't think it's good for the process if those one-on-one discussions don't happen. Personally,
Yeah, I
in my
agree.
experience, I think they should happen for any review process.
Okay, so I can change
And
it.
you also have new people like me last year coming in every year who are new
Mhm.
and have to fill out a performance evaluation within a couple of months, right, of being elected to the board.
Yeah.
So the only way that they can get, I mean, I
Well,
would
I mean,
say,
you can
unless
always
you're
do
following
it.
for a long time beforehand,
But
the only way
also-
that you can really get the background is to sit with
Well,
those
it's to
people
get
and hear
background, but also sometimes there's things that maybe you just want to discuss in private, right? And we should make sure that happens. I think it's best for the people being reviewed and for the process, so I would just make it stronger.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think it should be
Yeah.
a shall, but yeah.
Right, but they should do it.
It should is good.
That's all I had, Pat.
Okay. All right, then if you...
There's a typo too in the, I don't know if you saw that.
Put a typo in intentionally.
The last, the fourth paragraph under timeline will coordinate with the town manager. The R is missing at the end.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
I guess the only other question I would have, I know Darlene isn't here, but Paul, do you have any other comments you want us to consider for this?
No. no.
Okay.
And Darlene has seen this, and she,
Oh, okay.
I talked to her earlier today.
Okay, good.
So what was the final thing about on the consolidating, the scores?
What do you mean, the final thing? Oh, somebody...
Didn't we have a discussion in this, like, in the beginning of this about how the final number was come up with in the comments?
Well, no, it's not the final number, it's how...
Consolidated
It's, right, somebody needs to take all the forms
Yeah.
from all 4 or 5 of us, however many
Yeah.
they happen to be, and put them on one form, basically, so to present that at the public evaluation.
So
I mean-
this is saying that all the comments will stay, because I think that was the conversation we had in the fall, was whether that consolidation would be an overview of all the comments of
Right.
that one person's kind of...
Right, and instead
Or
of...
whether it would be all the
This
comments.
is
were in
just
it.
saying, take the comments and put them in and make sure
Exactly
everybody's
as they
come.
are.
Yeah,
Even if they have typos, yeah.
Yeah.
otherwise it just, I don't know, it prolongs it, and I think that it's important that people be able to stand by their comments.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
And then...
Yeah, easily determine which board members submitted, yeah.
Okay. And then the form itself, it probably looks to you pretty similar to what we filled out last year, but I did have some other thoughts about it, but I wanted to, run them by everybody before I go and make a lot of changes. Some of the categories seem to have a lot of items that are somewhat repetitive in my mind. So, I mean, if everybody's okay, I would go in and try to reduce each of them to maybe no more than 4 to 5 items for each, and consolidate some of the items in each category as they are right now. So that would be number one change that I'd like to make. And then on the goal...
Pat, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're not saying to consolidate the categories, but within each category, just
Correct.
shorten up the number of items, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And then under the goals and accomplishments, instead of replicating all our goals in here, I think it should be more like what the form, that part of the form is for the other non-union personnel, where basically each rater would maybe choose between 3 and 5 things that the town manager did or didn't do in the previous year, and describe those, what they think they did well on them, and what they think maybe they didn't do so well on them. And they would have the option, if anybody wanted to choose the goals that we have set. But, I've said before, when we're doing goals, a lot of times we set up some really nice goals, and then reality happens. I can think of at least 2 things that have happened since we've set these goals that I would probably rather rate the town manager on than some of the goals that we have here. And I would probably choose those 2, and then maybe 2 or 3 others that we do have goals set for. So I don't know if that makes any sense.
So you're suggesting instead of going goal by goal, every board member provides their own general statement on how they think the town manager has done on
However many
goals
one- Yeah,
or other things that came up.
right.
And, yeah.
Because, again, kind of like what Aaron, you just said about the categories. I mean, a lot of times, somebody maybe hasn't really kept up with how the different goals are being, how we're progressing with the different goals. So I think it would almost make it easier.
We're addressing the goals quarterly.
Right. So, I don't know how
When
anybody.
when you do the non-union personnel, is it more generalized like that?
Yeah, it is. It's the same form you use for the town accountant.
Well,
so it's
I
more
remember that, but usually she's only got like 3 or 4,
Mm-hmm.
3 to 5 goals, so we're talking about all of them individually anyway.
Right, and that's pretty much what I have for the town departments, is I have the same format and the same goals, so.
Yeah, you have many
Because
more
I-
goals, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't need to comment on support for this and support for that.
Yes.
So, I mean, I would, like I said, make those changes, bring it back at our next meeting and see what everybody thinks, if that sounds reasonable.
Sure.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. George? Sound good for now? All right, thank you. All right, on to our next item, which is signing the warrant for the annual spring town meeting.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. You have in front of you the warrant for this April 29th spring annual town meeting, including the warrant for the annual town election on April 2nd, 2024. It's the same document that you saw at the last meeting when I presented you the second draft. And really, it's been pretty consistent almost since the very beginning. This has had legal review by town council and by bond council, so it's good to go. Point to this 27 articles. As you pretty much see, most of the warrant pertains to the the budgetary aspects of the town, which is the purpose of primary purpose of spring annual town meeting, and then there is the MBTA zoning article and as well as a companion citizen petition zoning article. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, the expectation is this would probably be a 2-session town meeting, and wherever we pick up on the second session would be the intent would be, and we notify town meeting reps by the letter that goes out to the clerk's office, that the intent would be to begin with the MBTA zoning on the second session of town meeting, and then pick up the remaining of the warrant. Again, where we go will depend upon what's included in the consent agenda, and then, and how far we progress on the first night, because as you know, the consent agenda is not numerical in order with the warrant. So that's the article is there. Again, it's the document that you saw last time, just with the legal review by town council and bond council.
So the Article 26, is that how it will be presented? I mean,
Yes.
that's in final form?
This is the final form.
Okay.
Which is the MBTA zoning for those watching, and that has been advertised, in this room, 2 nights from now will be the opening of that hearing, but this is the final form of the MBTA zoning, and therefore what will come from this will be the motion, and again, if the planning board from the public hearing process makes modifications, then those will be included in the motion at town meeting, and obviously we'll encourage that document to get out in advance, because as we know, the most effective way to have discussion at town meeting is if people have had any proposed modifications in advance of the town meeting. But this is the final form as reviewed by the council, through the community development director, who's taken this guidance from the planning board. But this is the form of the MBTA zoning article, along with the 2 attachments that accompany it.
Okay, any other questions about the annual town meeting warrant?
I will make a motion that the board sign the warrant for the spring annual town meeting and the annual town election on April 2nd, 2024, as presented.
Second the motion.
Okay, a motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will get that to the clerk's office in the morning for posting.
Okay.
Next item I have is the regulatory agreement for Trammell Crow residential subsidized housing units at 255 Princeton Street. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the building commissioner has issued the building permits for the redevelopment of 255 Princeton Street, which is the former UMass Lowell West Campus, and some initial site activity has taken place there if one rides by the site. What this agreement is part of the development out there includes subsidized housing inventory units, i.e. affordable housing units. And town council has reviewed this document for us to submit to the state so that the affordable housing units that are part of this development will get included on the town's subsidized housing inventory. Initially, with the building permit that's been pulled, it's only a handful of the units that were included in the agreement with Trammell Crow Residential for this development. So this will be submitted. Since that building permit, as I mentioned, has been issued, those will get included on the inventory. And then once the Chelmsford Housing Authority's nonprofit affiliate choice files for their building permit, then the balance of the affordable housing units will get submitted to the state. So that's how that's been processed. And as recently as today, I received comments from council in terms of a payment in lieu of taxes agreement regarding the Chelmsford Choice nonprofit units. So you'll be seeing that coming before you at a near-term meeting. And then once, as I said, once David Hedison nonprofit of choice submits their building permit, then we'll submit those to the state. So again, this is part of the regulatory process for the affordable units in terms of meeting the state's requirements to have them included on the town's subsidized housing inventory so that we can reattain the 10% affordable housing inventory, subsidized housing units in the community.
Okay, any questions about that?
So does this give us a better idea of when, I'm sorry, did I just miss it? Does this give us a better idea of when that number will actually be?
As soon as David Hedison submits his project and gets his building permit.
Does this give you a better idea of when
We'll be over that. No, we don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah, still no,
He has informed me that he intends to be closing next month in terms of his component of the project, but I don't have a date when he'll be able to submit the plans for the building permit.
Is it, so maybe close to next month?
We're hoping it's as soon as possible,
Yeah.
but right, with these units, there are also other units. The planning board recently approved a project off a meeting house, which had subsidized housing units. They zoned there. We're moving to move those projects along, so we expect that with these units and those units, we could be down to just over a dozen units to attain the 10% threshold again. That's how close we are. And obviously David's ones would push us well over. And then that inventory is frozen basically that for 10 years. So, as we saw, the state only updates it upon the federal census data that comes out. As we know, the census is done every 10 years, but the data doesn't come out to 2 years later. So the data and the constraint would be in place through 2032 at the earliest. And or really in our case, it was 2023. So it's really probably 2033 that it'll be effective for. But David has not been able to provide me with the firm date as when he'll submit the building permits.
Okay. Thanks.
And this was just signed by you, right?
Yeah, the chair would sign on behalf of the board.
I will make a motion to authorize Chair Wojcicki to sign the regulatory agreement for the Trammell Crow residential subsidized housing units at 255 Princeton Street as presented.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're talking about earmarks.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we're nearing the start of the state legislature's budgetary process. The governor submitted her budget just over a month ago. The legislature's first moving with the House is going to pick it up the beginning of April. So now this is the time when the legislators sit with the House leadership and Ways and Means Committee chair to talk about potential earmarks. At this point, the best information that we have is they're not sure if they're going to be earmarks, but if there are going to be earmarks because of the state's revenue constraints, they will be less than prior years. At this point, I put this in front of you for consideration in terms of what earmarks we would submit to the town's 3 state representatives as well as our state senator, because the Senate will pick up its budget in May. So I've come up with a handful of suggestions for you. I sort of previewed this at the last meeting 2 weeks ago. The number one item I think that would be most beneficial to the community would be an earmark for funding of the new food pantry trailer, which is located behind our meeting location this evening in the town offices. The existing trailer is aged, but it's outgrown. They need a larger facility, and therefore a newer and larger facility at the same location would enable them to meet the growing demand that they're receiving at that facility. We have worked with DPW. We can put a larger trailer there. We have explored other potential locations, and thus far I've not, in other words, is there a building or a large, we just have not come across any alternative, and this has worked out well for them. So in talking to the folks who run the food pantry, which is formerly known as the Chelmsford Community Exchange, we're in agreement to pursue a path to replace their trailer. In working with Christine Clancy and DPW, we think the cost of about $90,000 would not only purchase the trailer, but also equip it with a handicapped accessible ramp, necessary shelving, and other components to make it an effective facility for the food pantry usage. So that's the initial request. The second one, the Senior Center Food and Nutrition Programs, as you know, that's been an annual repeated request to meet the food insecurity of seniors who are basically served through our Meals on Wheels program. As you know, we did receive a cutback in the current year for the Meals on Wheels program, and so again, this would provide $25,000 of an earmark to meet the food insecurity needs of seniors. Other suggestions that we have is a Level 3, which is a fast charging electric vehicle charging station, to install one at the Adams Library. Right now we have a Level 1 charging station at the Adams Library, and the goal to increase the acceptance of charging stations in not only in Chelmsford and the region, but in the nation, probably the world, is faster charging, and it is remarkable. And we run into people who regularly will use our fast charging stations. The most recent ones we installed over at the Forum, because it is that much more advanced in terms of speed. So the goal would be to seek an $80,000 earmark towards the installation of an electric vehicle charging station at Adams Library. And then finally, the other one is to address environmental concerns as well as environmental justice. And in speaking to Representative Elliott, we do have an environmental justice community that qualifies under the state's census definition, and therefore we would seek to do tree planting of shade trees in that area, and so that would be $50,000. It could be any dollar amount. Obviously, we'll plant as many trees as we can and work with others and try to obtain other financial support and grants, but that would meet that area. It's up around Smith Street, just to give you a sense of where is that area, because and it is located on our census maps. So those are 4 items for your consideration, and how we would do this is we would submit whatever request you approve to the representative delegation. Whatever ones, if any, make it through there, we would submit different ones, or remaining ones, to the Senate, because it doesn't benefit you to have duplicate earmarks on both sides. I mean, the goal at the end of the day would be get earmarks from the House and then get different and additional ones from the Senate. So that's how it works in the process. But again, we don't know what level of earmarks will be available and how they'll take place. You may have read last week the state's revenue estimate for mid-February was below the forecast again. And February is not a big month, but unfortunately, the trend just isn't isn't showing signs of going the other way at this point in time. But anyway, this is timely. You don't have to do it tonight. We can, but I think the sooner we get the information to our reps, the better in terms of, because again, even though the budget gets, considered at the beginning of April, they're really doing that legwork now. And so the meetings will be taking place in the next few weeks with the reps and the leadership and Ways and Means Committee chair.
Okay, any questions or other suggestions?
Can I ask a question? So the upgrade from the level 1 to the level 3,
Mhm.
is there a kind of loss to let go of the level 1?
Oh, we don't
Is
we
there a
don't
reason
throw it
why
away.
We don't just build a level 3 right next to the level 1
No.
or in a different location?
No, basically, they have to obviously have to be metered and so forth. And what we would do is we wouldn't throw it away. We would relocate the level 1 charges that exist there at a different location.
We would.
'Cause
Where would
the-
we
the-
relocate it? Is that
We've got other
wherever
locations.
you
I mean,
want?
Christine we've had locations at the schools.
Yeah.
About the parking space?
The park, we're
here.
putting additional ones behind this building in
Okay.
the
And we would
public
just
center.
relocate it.
So we would relocate it at another we have one in Vinyl Square.
Mm-hmm.
So what you wanted as a place that people spend time at.
Yeah, so that's what
But
that was what I was
you don't,
wondering, if
you
it's strategic.
you need a strategic place that people are willing to spend some time while it's charging, and
Yeah.
that's why the library is always the first one. Usually you go to the library and you're there for a program or with children, so you're making a little duration.
Do you have any Chelmsford Center in the Santander lot, or?
No, we have it, no, we don't
Not
have it
yet.
in the Santander lot, we have it at the Adams Library.
Yeah, like in the municipal lot?
Municipal
Would put
lot.
them in the
We could look at putting one there. Especially if it gets more popular. As you may be aware, not only has Navigation Brewery done a soft opening and there's a ribbon cutting this Friday for their formal opening, but the Oddfellows building for the restaurant is going before the planning board next month for additional seating, which then means they should be coming before you if that's approved for the liquor license. So that's moving, so if that moves, then you're right, there'd be more people using the municipal lot in the center. So yes, that would be another consideration.
Thank you.
Paul, how is an environmental justice community determined?
It's by census data. It's basically by income levels, by race. It basically comes purely from the U.S.
So the
Cen-
state
census.
tells us where?
The state tells
it
us,
is?
yep, through the federal census data. Yeah, it's not like we can apply and meet, it's basically how they establish it. And obviously, the predominant one is income levels.
Okay, do we want to vote whether to move these forward? Anybody want to? I mean, they look fine to me. I mean, we can always add to them, right?
Mhm, yes, yeah, if you have any other thoughts or people have suggestions in the weeks ahead, let us know, because again, we have the House budget in April and then the Senate in May, so again, if there are others that come up from either the board or others, we can pick those up in the weeks ahead, sure.
Okay.
And there's even regional ones, and talking to, and speaking of this, in talking to Dr. Pigeon at Neshoba Tech, which is our regional vocational school, they do not have an electric vehicle charging station at Neshoba Tech. And so she may be reaching out to Representative Arcero and Senator Kennedy and others to put one in at the school. And so again, that may be a regional one that would benefit Chelmsford because we send students there and as well as the other Neshoba Tech communities. So that also takes place as well.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. You want to do motion?
Oh, we vote?
You could just authorize me to submit them on behalf of the board. That way, I can say the board.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to submit the earmark request. Is this for the House only, or for the House and Senate?
You can say for the House and Senate.
For the House and Senate as presented?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, bid awards.
Yeah, thank you. Oops. I just have one bid award for you this evening, and Public Works Director Christine Clancy has hung around for this. This is for, as she mentioned during her presentation for the ARPA funding, Public Works issued a request for proposal for assessment of the watershed areas in town. And that includes the Graniteville Davis Road area, Dunshire Tingsboro Road, and Evergreen Street. They received 4 proposals, and again, a request for proposals is price blind. So what they do is they had an interview team of the engineering and public works officials. They interview the 4 firms and then choose the most qualified proposal, blind of the price. They received the 4 proposals. They chose Kleinfelder as the most recommended proposal. Once that's completed, we then opened the price proposal, and it fell within our budget, and so that's what brings us to the recommendation this evening, is to award the Watershed Assessment Project for the 3 watershed areas to Kleinfelder in the amount of $270,500. And fortunately, we have experience with this vendor or engineering firm, a positive experience, and so we think that this work will be done successfully and timely, because we know this is a concern in the community with the high water table that we've had over the last 8 months. And we know there are other drainage concerns that still exist out there, but this will really get us going on this aggressively.
Okay. Any questions?
Did we get the notice of those RFPs when they went out? I don't remember that one.
Don't know. If I didn't, I apologize. I know I checked. No, but I checked today, and I know I sent you the one for the high school kitchen. I don't know if this one went out, but.
Right. You sign it, Paul?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to award the Watershed Assessment Project to Kleinfelder in the amount of $270,500 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. I just have a brief item under my report this evening. The Strategic Plan Committee has been meeting, regularly and advancing the formation of a strategic plan for the community. What you have before you is the draft of the request for proposals for the strategic plan project, which is basically bringing on a professional firm to assist the town in the efforts to develop a strategic plan. This document was basically based on a successful RFP that went out in the town of Westford. And Westford sort of modeled theirs on another community, sort of how, like Attorney was describing how the cable license process goes, is there's a good template out there. In fact, Westford is actually doing a survey right now of their residents as part of their proposal process. So we have the document. The committee went through it page by page, line by line, and at their meeting this Wednesday, they're going to review it again in final form, and then if all goes well, then the RFP will go out on the 29th, which is Thursday, and then we would expect to be back to you, in April with a recommended bid award for your approval under this project. So that's where we are. If the board has any questions on it, obviously Virginia, sits on the strategic plan committee with me doing this process, but basically this document would get us a qualified, experienced vendor. I will send the RFP out to the firms who responded to the expression of interest that we issued about a year or so ago, and then I'm sure there'll be others, and then the committee will sort of facilitate the review process and then come forward with a recommendation for you. So that's where we're at with this project. I just wanted to formally notify you that this is moving along at this time.
Okay, any questions? I have a question on the page six. The table for the dates. It seems at the end it's a very tight timeline.
Yeah, and we're going to actually discuss the timeline
Okay.
tomorrow night to see if people are comfortable. We can always push them out, but the goal would be, to, make, before coming to you for the formal award, we would notify the firm that we're going to recommend, and then obviously see is, look, they know the budget, right? I mean, even though it's cost blind, when you submitted in the advertising of the state's combis and goods and services, you have to provide the estimated project amount. So that's why I don't anticipate, and that's why the timeframe is probably kind of tight in terms of, well, how is it that you make the award and then you sign the contract? It's because they know going in, what type, and they really need to do that because, and we've talked about this in the process, even at the committee level, well, if you're doing a strategic plan that's going to cost $50,000, that's very different than one that's going to cost $500,000. So that's why I think there's a tight time frame. But if the board has concerns or the committee has concerns, we'll push the dates out, and we can always delay anyway.
Yeah,
There's no
I
requirement.
mean,
It was just an
if you
estimate.
think that
Yeah.
you can do it that quickly, that's, more power to you.
Yeah, I think.
And I think,
that-
Pat, too, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The intent was when the committee meets on the 28th to review the whole timeline before this is issued on the 29th, because some of these steps require the committee participation, so we have to know that the committee can schedule their meetings on this timeline, and Paul was going to go over that with them on Wednesday before it gets published.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Looks good.
Great, thank you.
All right. We have some appointments.
Yeah, I have two appointments for you this evening. The first one is for the Cultural Council. Patrick Demers, a resident of Littleton Road, has expressed an interest in serving on the Cultural Council, so I'm seeking your confirmation of his appointment for a term ending June 30th, 2026. And then the second one is for the Zoning Board of Appeals alternate member, and that is Daniel Ruiz out of Brentwood Road, and his term would run through June 30th, 2024. So basically, it's only a 4-month appointment, but so it'll give him a chance to get his feet wet, and then obviously, when we come up for appointment renewals, we hope that he would stay on as an associate, or, again, if one of the others, so that's basically what we have for you this evening, for your confirmation, those two appointments.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager appointments of Patrick Demers to the Cultural Council for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026, and to appoint Daniel Ruiz to the Zoning Board of Appeals for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2024.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right. And we have one set of regular meeting minutes. Anybody have any corrections, comments on those?
I have one amendment. On page 9 in the list of supporting documents, I had made an edit that I don't think made it in the Crosby Village documents to add the presentation that Attorney DeShane brought with him to the meeting and used in the meeting. I think, Paul, you took an electronic
And I
copy of
provided,
it,
yeah, I
right?
provided it to the office. So
Yeah, we just need to
Okay.
include it in the list.
Anything else? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 12th, 2024 as amended.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and now we have a slew of releasable minutes from executive sessions. So the following minutes will be released with redactions from August 31st, 2020, from May 3rd, 2021, from May 17th, 2021, May 25th, 2021, June 1st, 2021, June 29th, 2021, August 21st, 2023, Segment 3A, September 5th, 2023, Segment 1A, September 5th, 2023, Segment 1B, September 18th, 2023, Segment 1B, September 29th, 2023, Segment 2, and October 6th, 2023, Segment 2. The following will be released without redactions. May 10th, 2021, Segment 2, June 14th, 2021, August 21st, 2023, Segment 3B, and September 18th, 2023, Segment 1A. And we also have a set of minutes not to be released from January 8th, 2021, Segment 1.
2024.
2024, segment 1. Okay, we're now to liaison reports and referrals. George, anything? Okay. Okay, I guess that was a no. Virginia?
I just have one. Earlier in the meeting, we noted that there is a seat open on the Conservation Commission, and the commission just wanted to extend their thanks to Dave McLaughlin for his service on the commission. He has served for over 34 years to the town of Chelmsford on that commission, and he put a tremendous amount of effort into protecting our natural resources, our water supply, wetlands, natural habitats, and open spaces. Dave was especially committed to protecting the habitats of the turtles and other amphibious creatures, and the commission just wanted to honor him for his guidance, his knowledge, and the role model that he was in his service to the community.
Okay, that's it? Okay. I have a couple items. First of all, a little over a week ago, we lost Normand Lebrec. I don't know if anybody remembers him.
Sure.
Okay. He was a longtime town meeting rep and very sure in his opinions. So he will be missed. NEMCOG, a reminder about their having an open house at their new offices on March 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. Stop by if you have time. And this Thursday, February 29th, the library is having a birthday party. The new section of, well, what I call a new section of the library opened on February 29th in the year 2000. So they only get to have a birthday party every 4 years. So you know it's going to be a good one. So from 4:30 to 6 on Thursday, there'll be a birthday party at the library. And that is all I have.
It is 7:56. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.